Hey folks, Cam Rogers here for the Cam Rogers Show, breaking down the latest NFL rumors out there. One game in the books in the preseason era. The Hall of Fame game wrapped up. Baltimore taking on Chicago. My Ravens beating the Bears 17-16. Let's talk about some big-time storylines here. Earl Thomas and a trade. Well, he certainly wants one if the Seattle Seahawks are unwilling to give him an extension. So he wrote a piece in the Players Tribune asking the Seahawks to do one of two things. Trade him or sign him to an extension. Pretty darn simple. He said, quote, offer an extension or trade me to a team that wants me to be a part of their future. Thomas said he understands if the Seahawks don't want to keep him around, but if they don't, then just make a decision now. Now, he's been holding out from training camp to get paid as he enters the final year of his deal. And Thomas believes he has outplayed his current contract, which I wholeheartedly agree with here. And he reiterated if Seattle isn't willing to pay him, he needs to move on. I understand where Earl Thomas is coming from here, because we're talking about one of the elite safeties in the NFL, a guy who is currently getting underpaid. And when you have other players out there that are not as good as Earl Thomas, i.e. Jimmy Ward, getting paid more, that's a problem. So what should the Seahawks do about Earl Thomas? Type away in comments. Type T for trade. Type P for pay him. If Seattle really wants to do this reset correctly, they should trade him away, get a good draft pick, hopefully a second rounder, and move on with your lives. Because right now, the Legion of Boom is just Earl Thomas. So there's not a whole lot of boom to it, if you will. All right, let's talk about Eric Decker signing with the New England Patriots. So New England had an injury to deal with Jordan Matthews. He has since been released. Of course, there's the Julian Edelman situation, 4-game suspension for him. So Ian Rappaport recently reported that New England has signed Eric Decker. Now, he provides a nice veteran option there for Tom Brady, especially during those first 4 games with Edelman out. Of course, they have Chris Hogan at wide receiver as well. Malcolm Mitchell is there too. Now, Decker was supposed to be that red zone target for Marcus Mariota back in 2017 with the Titans, and he had 54 receptions, 563 yards, and a touchdown. Didn't really pan out all that well, but I think Decker will be pretty darn good for New England. Now, does this erase all of the Dez Bryant rumors and basically my prediction saying that New England will sign Dez Bryant? No, I don't think so. I still think there is the opportunity for New England to bring in Dez. But obviously, Eric Decker now in town certainly helps out that depth chart that really isn't all that intimidating at the wide receiver position as we stand. All right, let's talk about Antonio Brown. Speaking of wide receivers, so he left practice yesterday. The problem is we really don't know why, other than the fact that it was an injury. So Mike Tomlin told reporters yesterday that the team sent Brown from the team's camp in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, to Pittsburgh for evaluation. Now, Tomlin did not specify what body part actually got hurt. So we aren't exactly in the know, if you will, in terms of the long-term prognostications of Antonio Brown's health. Now, with that, that brings in opportunities for rookie wide receiver James Washington out of Oklahoma State. Of course, Eli Rogers, who recently re-signed with Pittsburgh, Justin Hunter, Darius Hayward-Bay, the Maryland Terrapin. Maybe they get some more first-team reps and they can show out during training camp as Antonio Brown rehabs a little bit here. But obviously not good news when you have 2 of your 3 killer bees not on the practice field, talking about Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. All right, speaking of injuries here, Johnathan Cyprien, tough one for him and the Tennessee Titans. Torn ACL, great box safety. Actually had a couple of injury issues last year as well. Started 10 games for the Titans in 2017. Had a sack, 1 pass breakup, 57 tackles. And that just literally opened the floodgates for the safety market. Kenny Vaccaro is going to visit with the Tennessee Titans. A couple of other names as well, but Vaccaro is probably the most notable one in terms of on-the-field ability. I think he is the best safety that is going to visit the Tennessee Titans. Career with the Saints, pretty darn good. 385 tackles, 30 pass breakups, 8 interceptions, 7.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles as well. Started 12 games for the Saints last season and has been a stalwart for that franchise, 5-year career with New Orleans. And all of a sudden, the safety market is really starting to heat up with Kenny Vaccaro getting a look and a couple of other safeties out there, Mike Mitchell included, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He is going to visit with the Tennessee Titans as well. 53 tackles, 2 pass breakups for Mitchell last season. Cut from the Steelers back in March in a salary cap move. It was not a surprise to see Pittsburgh actually do that. Here is the most notable visit in terms of off the field. Taking a look at Eric Reid. Now, he's got that ongoing collusion case against the National Football League, alleging that the NFL is keeping him out of the league due to his kneeling during the national anthem. So, Reid, Vaccaro, and Mike Mitchell all getting into the fray. By the way, Ladarius Webb, the former Baltimore Raven. Reid is obviously the most notable because of this anthem debate, because of his grievance case against the NFL. He and Kaepernick both have their own separate cases against the league. It would be really interesting to see if Reid gets signed, and then if Reid actually drops the collusion case against the NFL and goes on with his life and plays for the Tennessee Titans. And it begs the question, if you are a general manager of an NFL team out there, would you sign a player who plans to kneel during the national anthem? I want to hear what you guys have to say. Hit me up in comments. Type Y for yes. Type N for no way. I'm not about that. I want to hear what you guys have to say about the national anthem debate, because it very much is top of mind for many people out there. Although, I will note, Hall of Fame game, nobody kneeled. So, in the NFL's eyes, off to a good start. You guys are watching a special edition of the Cam Rogers Show, breaking down these NFL rumors here. We are presented by AutoList. If you're looking for a new or used car out there and you're tired of browsing a million sites, go to Autolist.com to browse the largest source of inventory on the web, or download their top-rated mobile app for iPhone or Android today. All right, let's talk about Aaron Donald and the camp of Donald along with the Rams leadership. It sure sounds like they're not on the same page. So the Rams COO recently had a radio interview and said that the team and Donald do not agree in terms of Donald's value. Now, Aaron Donald is probably the best NFL player, positional value aside. He is set to make $6.89 million in 2018 on that 5th year of his rookie contract, much like the Khalil Mack situation. He wants to get paid, and he should get paid. And for the Rams to go out and extend Brandon Cooks and do all of this stuff and ignore the Aaron Donald contract, I think is a little ridiculous. So we'll see what happens. I think this is a really intriguing storyline to follow, especially when you juxtapose it to the Khalil Mack rumors out there that Mack is not engaging in any negotiations with the Oakland Raiders leadership, most notably John Gruden, because apparently they haven't talked at all. So which domino falls first? I actually think it's going to be Donald, but we shall see. All right, let's talk about Sam Darnold and the New York Jets. So Darnold said he wants to start, but, quote, it's a coach's decision. Went on to say, the competitor in me says I want to start, but at the same time, it's whatever's best for the team. Of course, went on to talk about Josh McCown, Bridgewater, and elaborated on, of course, being the starter as a huge challenge. Now, Darnold also said he didn't regret missing camp to work out his contract. He said he knew it was necessary for him to do so. Right now, Josh McCown is number 1 on the depth chart. Teddy Bridgewater is number 2. I think the Jets would be ridiculous to actually start Sam Darnold week 1 of the regular season. You're talking about an extremely raw project. And when you have 2 bona fide veterans on your depth chart, why rush things? So I think McCown is the starter week 1. I think Bridgewater could be traded at some point. And I think Darnold is taking the right approach in terms of mentality, saying to himself, well, yeah, of course I want to be the starter. That's the competitor in me. You wouldn't hear him say, you know, I'm okay with being the backup. No, of course not. That's just not how it works in the NFL. So I think Darnold is saying the right things, but I think in the back of his mind, he knows he's not going to be the starter in week 1. All right, let's talk about Dez Bryant and the Dallas Cowboys. So the receivers coach for the Cowboys kind of slighted Dez Bryant, threw some shade here. Here's what he recently said, quote, "I would rather have down-the-field guys that go run down a ball and score than live in the back shoulder world. We want touchdowns. We have some of those." End quote. So basically saying that Dez Bryant obviously is not a vertical threat. I think even Dez Bryant knows that, but the fact that a Dallas Cowboys coach is going on record to actually say that is intriguing. And back shoulder world, I've never really heard of that phrase before. I understand what he's trying to say, like every throw to Dez has to be a back shoulder or like a go up and get it throw because Dez can't create separation. I think this is just going to be more fuel for Dez's fire, to be honest with you guys, as you take a look at my top 5 landing spots for Bryant. I still got New England at 1. I think Tennessee is an interesting option as well. Green Bay at 3. Indianapolis at 4. Major need plus the salary cap space. Pittsburgh is my dark horse now. Yes, Antonio Brown recently went on Twitter to recruit Dez Bryant. Yes, Dez Bryant retweeted that tweet. And you may be wondering about the Cleveland Browns. According to my sources and what I am hearing out there, the buzz around Cleveland and Dez has subsided. Really not much going on right now. No meeting imminent as we stand. So I think he still goes to New England. You guys know how I feel about Dez Bryant. All right, let's talk about Patrick Mahomes. Now, Andy Reid said he doesn't care about Mahomes throwing interceptions in training camp. We're talking about 7 interceptions in 6 training camp practices, guys. Now, I know training camp is training camp, and we can't, say, draw big-time conclusions about what we hear, but that's slightly concerning, especially when you talk about an offensive cast featuring Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins as well, Kareem Hunt. These are premier offensive weapons. You should not be throwing 7 picks in 6 practices. That I can tell you. So I know Andy Reid is taking the right path here in saying that he doesn't care about the interceptions, but Mahomes better be careful because I have the Chiefs finishing last, and a big reason why is the uncertainty surrounding the quarterback position and the gunslinger mentality that Mahomes has. All right, let's talk about A.J. McCarron now and the quarterback battle for Buffalo. So it sure sounds like A.J. McCarron is in the lead over Nathan Peterman to be the Week 1 starter. This is hardly a surprise. McCarron is simply the best quarterback out of this entire group. We're talking about Peterman, McCarron, and Josh Allen, the rookie out of Wyoming. Now, in terms of Buffalo, I thought the Bills' quarterback battle was more up in the air than any other. It wasn't like the Jets per se or the Arizona Cardinals. I thought maybe Josh Allen could impress. Maybe Nathan Peterman could generate some buzz. He did during minicamp, obviously not during training camp. McCarron's the guy for Buffalo. He will be starting Week 1 against the Baltimore Ravens. I would be stunned to see anything otherwise. Hey, how about this? Peyton Manning showed up not for a Colts training camp practice, not for a Broncos training camp practice, an Oakland Raiders training camp practice. So he was in San Francisco for a speaking engagement. He reached out to John Gruden, asked if he could stop by, and he did. Showed up, gave some tips out there on the practice football field, and Gruden told the Bay Area News Group, it's a great way to learn. Maybe you can steal some things. That's what I've learned from a lot of great players. Now, of course, you guys all know, watching all of those Monday Night Football broadcasts when Peyton Manning was playing, that Gruden loved talking about Peyton Manning. Called him the sheriff, of course. And I agree. He was the sheriff. He ran the show on the football field. And so it's not a surprise that Gruden allowed Peyton Manning to roll through and check things out in Raiders training camp there. All right, let's talk about Ray Lewis and what he said about CJ Mosley. He called him the best middle linebacker in the NFL, saying every time I watch him, I'm like, wow. That's some serious praise from one of the premier linebackers in the history of the National Football League. CJ Mosley is intriguing to watch because he is so intelligent on the football field, well coached out of Alabama, had a good season in 2017, 132 tackles, 1 sack, 3 forced fumbles, a couple of picks as well. He is the quarterback of the Ravens defense of the future. And I agree with Ray Lewis in that CJ Mosley is a premier player. Now, is he the best middle linebacker in the NFL? Well, I wouldn't go that far. I think there are some names out there that could compete with CJ Mosley. I think a Telvin Smith would be an interesting name to think about. A couple of other linebackers out there as well. I think eventually Rashad Evans could perhaps be the best middle linebacker in the National Football League. Reuben Foster may have something to say about that as well. So I'll pump the brakes on what Ray is saying, but he's a Baltimore truther, and I'm a Ravens fan too, but Ray Lewis is usually saying positive things about the Ravens, nothing ever negative. All right, Adam Jones is suing the airport attacker. Yes, indeed. You guys may recall seeing that video on TMZ where there was this fight that happened at the Atlanta International Airport back in July. He was attacked by this guy named Frank Ragan, and Jones said he doesn't want to be known as a fighter anymore, saying, quote, "For me, it don't look good, and for my kids." So Adam Jones is still a free agent, by the way, former Cincinnati Bengal, and he said that the fight is hurting his chances at finding an NFL team. So he's not done yet. He's looking for another team out there, and perhaps this lawsuit could help aid in that process and clear his name a little bit. Pac-Man Jones, I think, eventually will get signed if injuries happen in secondaries during training camp, which probably will happen. So I think Jones eventually will get a look. All right, big story here. OBJ and the Giants are talking. They are negotiating a long-term deal, which is very good news. So Giants co-owner John Mara said, quote, "We feel good about where he is." Now, OBJ will make $8.46 million this season on the final year of his rookie contract. And he has been very patient. He has been showing up to minicamp, showing up to training camp, being present for the New York Giants. And I think he, more so than Khalil Mack or Aaron Donald, deserve to get paid because of that. They're not holding out. He's not holding out. Aaron Donald and Khalil Mack are. OBJ is not. He's showing up. So in that regard, I respect that, and I think OBJ should get paid and get that long-term deal, because without him, the Giants are going to struggle on offense. If OBJ waltzes into free agency next year and the Giants don't have him in 2019, it's going to be ugly. I don't care, how good Saquon Barkley is. They need wide receiver help. All right, how about this? Shannon Sharpe says that Aaron Rodgers is more talented and is the better quarterback than Tom Brady. He acknowledged that Tom Brady has won more Super Bowls and MVP awards, but he argues that Rodgers is the guy that he would rather have on the football field than Tom Brady. And in a way, Shannon Sharpe is correct. Rodgers probably is more talented than Tom Brady. But we're talking about a sport where talent alone doesn't win you rings. It doesn't. So if it's the fourth quarter in Super Bowl 53 and I need that final drive for a go-ahead score, am I picking Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady? I'm picking Tom Brady. I have more confidence in Tom Brady to get that done. I have more confidence in Tom Brady to actually be healthy by the time Super Bowl comes around. This is the reality of the situation. Aaron Rodgers has an injury history. Tom Brady, outside of 2008, does not. So I want him on my football team, and this is coming from a Ravens fan, guys. So for Shannon Sharpe, I understand where he's coming from, and by the way, one of the premier tight ends in NFL history, he is very much entitled to his insight and his opinion, and I ultimately respect what he has to say, former Baltimore Raven too. I would go with Tom Brady, because when I look at a quarterback argument, I look at it from a perspective of, in a clutch moment, who would I want on the field? It'd be Thomas, and that's where I stand. Hit me up in comments. Let me know what you think. Who's the better quarterback? Type R for Rodgers. Type B for Brady. All right, folks, this has been the NFL Rumors Rundown here on the Cam Rogers Show. I am Cam Rogers. Hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. See you guys next time.